Target anchor detected.
Might as well build this on. Going to be nothing but peace.
We're set up in the mall. They're not getting through here. Don't die, motherfucker. Not a chance.
Problem.
toxins at unsafe levels. Filters failing. Air filter function restored. Air quality acceptable.
Listen up. We got devils in our house and they mean to kill us all. Stand and fight. You hear me? Stand and fight.
Airborne toxins at unsafe levels. Filters failing. Immediate medical assistance needed.
Taking out the hyena leadership leaves a faction in disarray. I'll send teams to start securing the supplies and the equipment those bastards are hoarding.
Alright, guys.
Leader settlement will be
So quiet. So quiet. Alright, guys. So, I did do this as a two-part video originally. So, I did 2 runs to this. And I thought, man, that's really boring to watch. Let's check out the damage. So, I did 965 million damage. I'm going to go over the TLDR with this build. You might have gotten a glimpse of it in a little bit earlier. It only took us 15 minutes to clear. Let's go to the White House so that way I'm not worried about anything. But and then we'll go over the TLDR for this, and then I'm going to show you. I did do this build another way, and I'll explain that here in a second, and I'll tell you the actual damage difference. So we did, how much did we do? 985, 965. So the other version of this build did 785. So almost 2 million less damage from the other variant of this build. Now this build is my favorite build in the game. I've shown it in my streams. I did want to do a video on it, and I finally got the video done. Finally got around to doing it, so here it is. So let's go over it. So the first thing is our gunner is our subclass, and the main weapon to this is Pestilence. Now my Pestilence currently is LMG damage out of cover, and damage to armor. And I could actually upgrade both of these to maximize my damage here even more. There we go. So how about so mine's maxed. So this is a maxed. I would consider God roll for an AR. Damage to armor with Pestilence, I kind of would rather have damage to health, but I guess damage to armor is fine. And then the main build, if you notice, it's all protos, right? Yeah. So I'm using the Virtuoso set. I'm using the mask, the chest, the holster, and the backpack. The chest and the backpack are kind of a must, and I'll explain why. So what does the Virtuoso set do? Well, so first of all, let's go over Pestilence, right? TLDR, let's go over Pestilence first. We'll talk about the other guns at the end, but let's go over Pestilence first. So Pestilence is an LMG, an exotic LMG that has the talent Plague of the Outcast. Hits apply a debuff dealing 100% weapon damage over 10 seconds. This stacks up to 50 times. Whenever an enemy dies with this debuff, 100% of the stacks are transferred to nearby enemies within 25 meters. So what you're trying to do is build up as many stacks as you can, and then that enemy die, and then all those stacks transfer, right? I don't know if turmoils spread the transfer, but I don't think it does because it has to do with weapon damage, not actual debuffs or anything. I don't know, but I have them on there just because it's easier to kill enemies. So that's the gun that we're going to be using. So why does this work so well? So Pestilence's perk, Plague of the Outcast, does not matter if you're critting or not. Our crit right now is at 48. We're not even over 50. Okay? I could change this mod out and put crit it. It doesn't matter. Crit damage, I mean, crit damage always matters with an LMG because you want to kill the enemies fast, but when it comes to the actual perk of this exotic, the Plague of the Outcast, it doesn't go off of crit damage, it goes off of weapon damage. So the more weapon damage you have, the more you're going to do in Pestilence. So this is where I found the Virtuoso set works so well. So the Virtuoso set, a 2-piece, gives us 15% weapon handling and a 15% magazine size boost, which is really good for Pestilence because it's on the lower end of the magazines for exotic LMGs. It's not the lowest, but it is on the lower end. And then you get a nice bump of 15% weapon damage. Again, that's all Plague of the Outcast damage. That 15%, just think of that as that's additional damage you're putting on top of Plague of the Outcast, okay? The 4-piece of it says killing an enemy further than 25 meters provides 40% weapon damage to shotguns, SMGs, and pistols, and 20% weapon damage to ARs, LMGs, and a 20% bonus armor for 15 seconds. Killing enemies within 25 meters will provide the following: 40% weapon damage to MMRs and rifles, whatever MMRs are. I don't know what an MMR is. Is that like the second rifle? Anyways. And 20% weapon damage to ARs and LMGs, and 30% headshot damage for 15 seconds. So the key that you need to take out of this, all of that reading before I read the final part, is that kills beyond 25 meters give me 20% weapon damage to my gun. Kills within 25 meters give me 20% weapon damage to my gun. It doesn't matter the range. The LMGs are always just going to get that flat 20%. Okay? So I'm getting 20% from the 4-piece plus an additional 15%. So I'm getting 35% weapon damage from this set, just from this set, okay? So that's 35% weapon damage that's getting converted into those Pestilence ticks that you see that are ticking for 1.3 million, okay? The final part of this says intermittently killing enemies from both ranges build up stacks. At 4 stacks, all bonuses are multiplied by 2, triggering at the same time for 15 seconds. No stacks are acquired while these bonuses are active. So if you get 4 kills, it doesn't matter the range. Once you get 4 kills, if you get them consecutively while the little Virtuoso symbol is up, you're gonna double all your damage. So instead of 20% weapon damage, now we go to 40, and that 40 gets additional 15 on top of that. So now we're at 65% weapon damage for 15 seconds. For 15 seconds, Plague of the Outcast is putting serious ticks on enemies, okay? Now, we're using the chest piece because the chest piece has the augment echo. Every bullet fired has a 1 point. Oh no, sorry. That's the prototype. The talent is Fortissimo, doubles the weapon damage of Symphony. So it doubles the weapon damage. So now, when I was just telling you those numbers, because I have the chest piece on, those are now doubled to 40. So I'm doing 40% weapon damage every time I get a kill. Every time I get a kill, I'm getting a bump in 40%. Every 4, I get double that. So I get 80% plus an additional 15. So now you're talking 95% weapon damage just because I have this chest piece on. Okay? And then the backpack has the perk Accelerando. Decreases the number of stacks needed to proc Symphony. Doubles the buff. Synchrony's buff double from 4 to 3. So now instead of me having to kill 4 enemies, all I gotta do is kill 3. So I kill 3 enemies, I get a 95% weapon damage buff to Pestilence. Okay, I'm using Overdogs because Overdogs has weakest link, amplifies weapon damage by 30%. That's always good. Again, weapon damage increase. That's what we're looking for. Amplifies weapon damage by 30% to the lowest ranked enemy currently in combat. The tiers of the hierarchies. Tier 1 is hunters, rogues, leaders, tanks, shields, heavy weapons, RPGs, medics, controllers, warhounds, and marauders. Tier 2 is support, engineers, bodyguards, immobilizers, bombers, mini tanks, drones, operators. Tier 1 is any other enemy that's still in proximity. So basically the way you want to do this to maximize Pestilence is when you have the overdogs on, you want to find the red enemies first and kill them. Move on to the purple enemies. Kill the purple enemies and then the yellows and the names, right? If there are no reds, then you start at purples. If there are no purples, then you're just going to the yellows and it doesn't matter, right? That's how those work. And then I'm using Turmoils because Turmoils has the talent Bewildered. When dealing weapon damage to an enemy, 50% of that damage will be dealt to another enemy within 30 meters instead. When there are no enemies, damage is dealt by armor. Does not apply to armor plates. So, and this is giving me additional 8% crit chance. Now, you could switch this out with something like unit alloy would be fine here. If you don't have turmoils, unit alloy will work because you get that rate of fire. And the more ticks you can put on, the better. But I've played around with everything, and realistically, this is the best combo I've come up with. There are a couple other ones. There's a how do you say it? The Lemgo. No, not that. That's a 3-piece. You need 3 pieces to get to the LMG damage. There's one where the first piece is weapon damage. I can't think of the name of the gear off the top of my head, but just the one piece is LMG damage or weapon damage. So that's the other thing you can be looking for, is something that has here you go. The immersive augments gives you 5%, so you could use those. There is a unit alloy would be my go-to if I didn't have these gloves. If I didn't have the knee pads, I would go with unit alloy. Give me that rate of fire. So. And then I'm using the cherry blossom, the first blossom, because it helps me take down plated enemies, like with Diesel and that. You saw me use this against him, and it melted him really quickly because of its perk. Its perk is Blossom Harvest, amplifies weapon damage by 3.3% for each 10% combined armor and health that the enemy has remaining. So you break that armor and they start melting really fast. So I'm using Quick Step as my pistol. Now, what I was talking about was another build I was working with. All I meant was I tried this with the regular Virtuoso set, using all 4 of the same pieces, but green instead of Proto. The only difference that I saw, was the drop in overall damage. Like I said, I did 900 something million damage with the Proto, and I did 700 something million damage with the non-Proto. So it's still an insanely high tick damage. When I was doing it with the non-Proto, I think I got up to about 830,000 damage per tick at like some of the max stacks, whereas this is doing like 1.3. So it's about a 500,000 jump from protos to non-protos. But don't stray away from this, guys. I'm telling you, as far as Pestilence is concerned, this is one of the best set gears outside of, I would say, something like Striker. Like Striker would be if you don't have Virtuoso, Striker would be the next best one, because Striker I'll read it to you. I'll show you. Striker flat out just gives you weapon damage. Weapon hits increase your weapon damage by 0.65%, stacking up to 100 times. So you get 100 stacks, you're getting 50%, I think it is, what it comes out to be. Sorry. 0.65, yeah, so like half. So you're getting 50% weapon damage when this is maxed out. And if you have the chest on and the backpack on, you could double those stacks to 200 and reduce the requirement. What's the backpack do? Real quick, while we have you guys, increases the total weapon damage from 0.6 to 0.9. So basically 1%. So, and the chest piece will give you 200 stacks. See, from 100 to 200. So you could do almost 200% weapon damage with the striker set. So striker with pestilence works really, really well because, again, Plague of the Outcast is based on weapon damage. I hope I explained that the best of my understanding to it, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Road to 1,000 subscribers. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe. Subscribe. And I will see you guys on the next video. Let's mime it out. We're going to mime it out. Where's my mime? There's my mime. Later, guys.